This episode is brought to you by the Slash and Cast Podcast Network. Discover all of our shows at slashandcast.network.
Yeah, I feel like the ending's pretty simple, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. Hello and welcome to the Conjecturing a Horror-ish podcast. With me is Laura.
Hello.
And Greg.
What's up, guys?
And I'm your host, Rob. How's everybody doing tonight?
Super.
Great.
Doing good. How's the gold room going tonight? We're back inside. You know, we were in Blair Witchville last week out in the maze. This week we're back inside. We're nice and warm. We survived the witch putting rocks on Laura's head.
Thanks to Lloyd. He provides service even when we're outside. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God Lloyd was there. For
I feel like I've seen Lloyd slip some ketamine in some of our drinks, you know, at the bar.
Oh, Lloyd. Come on, Lloyd. Not Lloyd. Dang. Oh, man. That sounds like a Jack thing. It feels like Jack would be that asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this week, we're speaking of ketamine, we're doing 2013's Coherence. Like we weren't talking about it before then. Greg was just mentioning that out of nowhere. We're doing 2013's Coherence this week. So what are you guys wearing tonight? What do we got going on tonight? What do you got going on, Greg?
So I'm dressed as Kevin. He's the guy who just can't take off his damn scarf. I mean, wherever he goes. So he's got a black black button up, a leather jacket, and just a scarf, even indoors.
That's true. Maybe he has a cold neck. His neck's cold all the time. I don't know.
No.
That could be a thing.
Oh, okay. All right, that's true. Nice. And Laura, are you wearing anything tonight? What do you got going on?
I'm not dressed as any character, but I am wearing some of our merch.
Oh.
I'm wearing our Graves Rave tee. No heartbeats. Love it.
Grave Rave.
It just felt like the right t-shirt because I feel like they've got the glow sticks, I feel kind of ravey.
That's true.
Kind of ravey
I
here.
like it. I like
it. That's true. We have our glow sticks each too. We're each wearing glow sticks. We decided as a unit, as a team, in the gold room in a household ish, to wear blue. We're all blue tonight. So we're team blue, #blue. No greens or reds. Try to mess with us. We might punch you in the face. But yeah, for me, for me, I'm Mike. Talking about punching people in the face. I'm Mike. I got the gray little vest on here, but I'm also wearing our Conjecture, all work and no play, make Jack a dull boy headphone t-shirt on. So also repping some of our merch. You can actually check out our merch at tpublic.com/user/conjecturingpod. And all that'll be in the notes of the show too. If you want to check out some of that merch, we got a ton of designs up there. So
yes.
All right. So, let's see what we're drinking tonight. Let me get the drop going here.
What's in the cups?
All right. So what are we drinking tonight, Laura?
We are drinking an M's Comet, and it is made with equal parts gin, sweet vermouth, and fresh squeezed orange juice, and it is frickin' delicious. Oh my God.
So tasty.
Is this, did you retitle that name, or is that actually the name of a drink?
No, I retitled it.
What's the original name of it, or what it's actually called?
I don't know. This is kind of one that I half made up, half found. So
Okay.
this is going to have to go up on our website because it is so good.
Not to mention it's equal parts. To be honest with you, that's like my number one criteria when we're making cocktails. If something is equal parts, okay, I'm in. The moment you're like 3/8 this, I've ejected from the situation. So yeah, cheers to this drink. It's delicious.
Nice. Yeah, good pick, Laura.
Cheers.
Good pick. I like it. Cheers. Oh, Greg forgot to mention he's drinking out of a coffee mug. You're drinking out of a coffee mug tonight, Greg?
I am, but I get a pass because this is the official Conjecturing coffee mug. It's got our new logo on it. It's got the Slash and Cast network insignia as well as our new shining background. It looks so clean.
Nice.
And I've already run it through the dishwasher a couple of times and it's still shiny as new.
Oh, nice. I like it. Ooh, it's shining. Perfect for this episode. Nice. Yes, so let's do a little bit of show news real fast, a little bit of updates. We just want to remind everybody listening, if they like our show, to please rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it's on. We don't have any comments or questions or answers from emails or anything, right, Laura?
Nope.
No, nothing there. The only thing I did want to talk about is My mom on Twitter, it's Rob's mom on Twitter. It's at Rob28mom. She posted my blonde highlight pic without me knowing. She didn't really give me a heads up about that one, but on our 7 episode, we talked about Brad Pitt's highlights, and me and Greg mentioned that we did it. We did it in the late 90s or whatever it was. So my mom actually found it and then put it on Twitter. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, you can see my mom's Twitter there and see what I looked like as a very young blonde highlight boy. So what did you guys think of that pic?
I thought it was perfect for the times.
It was fantastic.
I tried my hardest, Rob, to look for mine because I thought, you know what, he can't be alone in this battle. We need to see.
I know. I think I'm calling bullshit on you, man. I think I'm calling bullshit.
Likely story.
I'm pretty sure your dad does listen, and I'm pretty sure he probably found it, and then Greg got it from him and burned it. He didn't want it out there.
Hey, if any of my family members want to post it, I'll say go for it.
Go for it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
There we go. All right. Okay. Cool. Hopefully, I'm not the only one. We'll see what happens the next couple of weeks. So do you guys have anything from last week's episode, Blair Witch? Like we said, did you find any rocks outside your house? Anything like that?
No.
Nothing?
Nope.
Greg, did you fart in a tent?
No, but I started buying maps of everything. I have a map of, every street in our county. I have like 2 or 3 versions just in case one gets thrown down the river. I've got a backup.
Oh my
just in case Google Maps goes down
That's
one
true.
day, you're going to need maps.
That's true. You're never sure when me or Laura are going to be hanging out with you and we're just going to kick your map into a river. That's true.
Dang.
So like we said, this movie we're doing this week, 2013's Coherence. This was Laura's movie pick. Laura, so why did you pick this movie?
Oh my God. Why didn't I pick this movie earlier? Really? I saw this movie about a year ago, and I love psychological thrillers. I love them so much. I mean, horror, comedy, psychological thrillers, that's like my jam right there. And I love movies that are kind of underrated. And when you find them, it just feels like you're finding a gem of a movie. Mm. And it had some pretty unpredictable twists and turns that really make you pause or rewind or just have to think more and make sense of something. And so, just a big win in my book overall.
Nice. That's very true. I mean, this is very similar to Greg's pick on Triangle. And I feel like during our review, we might be mentioning Triangle on multiple times. I think you have to. Yeah, that was back in episode 22, I believe. I feel like I might be the only one that hasn't picked out a gem yet, unless you consider Thanks Killing a gem. But I don't think anybody does. So I don't think
nope.
No. Oh, dang it. All right. Well, I gotta find my gem. I gotta dig a little deeper. But this is we said this is a really cool pick, Laura, something we've never heard of before. So I'm excited to get to the review and really talk about what the hell's going on with this movie. But before we get to the review, let's do our horror-ish segment of the week. This week I have for you guys. This week I got a question for you guys. Speaking of course, this movie, Coherence. Speaking of Triangle also, I wanted to ask you guys a question based on alternate reality, time-based movies. So what alternate or time-based reality movie would you choose to be stuck in? You have Coherence, this movie we're doing this week. You have, like I said, from episode 22, Triangle. And lastly, you have a movie I hope we review one day soon, 1993's Groundhog Day. So between Coherence, Triangle, and Groundhog Day, which one are you picking to be stuck in?
To be stuck in?
Yeah, you're stuck in these 3 movies. Not really counting the outcomes of them and the endings, but just being stuck in them. Laura, do you want to go first? What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I actually think this is a fairly easy question, Rob. This is such a breath of fresh air after the weeks and weeks of how would you rather die? Okay, straight up, I love the movie Triangle. No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Major spoilers, obviously, but it's like she's dead. It's
true.
Purgatory, like
kind
the middle.
Yeah, it's the Sisyphus myth.
Yeah.
You're rolling the boulder up the hill over and over again.
Exactly. So that's totally out. And I totally picked this movie. I picked Coherence, and I'll tell you why. Okay, Groundhog's Day is one of my favorite movies of all time. to us, it seems like he's having such a lovely day. What a fun day to live over and over again, right?
Mhm.
But for him, that's his job. That's his work. He's just reliving the same day over and over again, doing a job he doesn't love. And first of all, I think we can all relate being, especially early quarantine days, like just doing your job over and over again, like, ugh, you know? And he's in a town he doesn't care about, and it doesn't make him happy. He clearly suffers tons of mental health issues, like the poor guy. It's just, yeah, we have to review Groundhog's Day one day because that is truly a horror movie. And in Coherence, I feel like they're stuck there for one night. So, okay, if I had to do that over and over again, I'd be just going to a dinner party with all of my friends, getting drunk, eating a nice meal, having good company. And once we figured out what was going on, the whole moral of the story was just stay inside. Don't interact with anybody else. Just mind your P's and Q's. And you know what? We could totally do that and have a great time.
Mhm.
So,
But you don't get to do it on a boat.
I don't want to do it on a boat.
When was the last time you were on a yacht, Laura?
A yacht.
I
Or was-
don't think I've ever been
I
on a
know,
yacht.
specific.
I don't want to go on a yacht. Yeah.
We haven't sold that much merch yet.
Yeah.
I think everybody says they don't want to go on a yacht until they actually get on one. So
I've been on like the hornblower.
the what?
Whoa, watch
The
out. now.
hornblower?
I don't know what that is, but okay.
Do
don't
tell
know
us
the
what a
horn
horn
blower
blower is. No, I don't know what it is
I don't
either.
know. Never heard of that. That's a t-shirt though. I know that.
Greg, you know what I'm talking about. It's
It
the
sounds
go around
sexual.
the bays, like in Newport and San Francisco.
And they just blow horns.
Oh my God. You guys are full of shit. I'm done with you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wait, so you're saying that you would go on a yacht? You would, so you're changing your answer to triangle?
No, my answer is coherence. Thank
All
you.
right, all right.
Can you
Just
can you blow a horn in your house? That's the real question. Can you do that?
No, I don't have a horn in my
Well,
house.
what about incoherence though, Laura? Like if you're just chilling in your guys' house, what if evil Laura comes in and tries to beat you up? That's kind of scary.
I'd beat her up right back.
Blow a horn in her face. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
You know what? Evil Laura's not coming for me though, because I'm not evil. So even in an alternate reality, I'm going to react slightly different, but I don't have evilness inside of me. So if the other Laura comes in, I'm just going to be like, well, you're clearly the dumber Laura.
The dumb Laura
Stay out of
comes
this
in.
house.
The dumber Laura comes in.
I'll probably give her a quick hug and like touch her face and be like, I know it's weird. I know. And then be like, now you got to go.
I guess in essence, it would really be the drunkard Laura comes in. Really, she's plastered.
Yeah, I'd put her to bed.
Yeah,
I'd put her to bed in
Oh,
our
okay,
house
all
and
right.
be like, good luck.
Okay, all right, man. I might be in this house with Laura. That sounds pretty cool, actually. All right, Greg. What about you? Between these three movies, which one are you picking to be kind of stuck in?
Okay, as much as I was trying to sell Laura on Triangle, Triangle is out. Screw that.
Yeah.
I mean, she just goes to the worst situation. Coherence, to me, also out. There was something very unsettling about meeting or being stuck in an alternate reality that is not your own. I mean, in this movie, anytime they met up with themselves, you could tell that their other self was them, but there was just something about the slight difference knowing that they're from a different reality that's just, I don't know, that gives me such the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
I can't deal with it. So Groundhog's Day is my reality. I understand you're living the same day over and over again. That's itself in its own version of purgatory, but what can you do in one day? You could live a million lives, go skiing, go, parachuting, go crash a car. All the stuff that he did, I think he wasn't imaginative enough. He could have gone crazier, and you can do everything that you want to. And then guess what? You return to your actual reality, to where there are no doppelgangers. There are no fake realities. There's the world that you haven't known your whole life. It's back to your normal world. Groundhog's Day for me.
Groundhog's Day all the way. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, you also really didn't mention, Greg. Like, yes, you get to live multiple lives within that, but also you die multiple times equally. So you also have to think about that as like you actually are going to have to die. And I mean, we never really saw a lot of them in Groundhog Day, but you don't usually die peacefully ever.
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Maybe by like the fifth one, you are no longer afraid of death. I mean, you hear about people who get attacked by a shark. They go back into the water, like, you know what? I respect the shark more. That's his habitat. I'm going to go back out there. I mean, people, I think, who experience death change their view on life a lot. You read about
People
that a
who
lot.
experience death change. So they're
Sorry,
still
near
around.
death. Near death.
Oh my
They've written books on the near-death experience, and people who go into it have completely different mentalities when they come back out, and usually it's for the better. You know, they cherish things more, they appreciate their loved ones more. So I don't know. I think it could be a positive thing.
Okay. All right, Greg. Cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to be with Laura. I think I'm going to pick Coherence. But unlike Laura, I'm not staying in that house.
What? You're going to go to all the different realities over and over again?
I'm going to
go. You got screwed up?
I'm going to go into Laura's house and be like, Laura, what are you doing in here? Let's go podcast. Or I'm going to go find my ideal reality. You know, I'm going to go find a cool reality, you know, or something where maybe I do have a yacht. Maybe I'm blowing a horn. I don't know. I'm going to find that reality, and then that's going to be my new reality. I'm going to be that asshole. So that's why I'm Mike. That's why I'm Mike. I have a vest
realities
on.
Are that different. I think there's differences in each of them, but you're not going to be like filthy rich in one. Like that didn't happen.
I don't know about that. We'll get into it in the review. There's a couple of things I don't know if you guys picked up on, but okay. All right. All I know is I might be a dancer in one reality. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah.
All right. Well, good answers, you guys. Good answers. If anybody wants to email us in, let us know what movie they would want to kind of like live through. You can always hit us up. Email conjecturingpod@gmail.com or Twitter, Instagram @conjecturingpod. You can also leave us a voicemail on our website, podpage.com/conjecturingpod. So let's get to the movie now. So now it's time to crack our glow sticks. Let's crack our glow sticks and get to the movie this week. So like we said, we're doing Coherence this week, 2013 film. Laura, do you know where this movie like originated from? Was this a US based movie?
Mm-hmm.
It was? Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I know Triangle was like Australian, right? Australian and
I think it's supposed to take place in Southern California.
Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. Yeah, you have writer director James Ward. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's last name.
Burkett.
Okay. This was his directorial debut. I actually looked him up because it's crazy. Because I was telling my wife. She might pop on here quickly. This is a 2013 movie. We're in 2021 now. This movie to me is a really great movie. Like, why hasn't he done anything else? Like, it's just really interesting. So I was trying to look up what he's done. And really, beyond this, he's mostly a storyboard artist. So he makes storyboards for movies, including Baby Driver, Rango, and 3 of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. He did all the storyboards for those. So I mean, that's a cool career and everything, but it's just like, it's crazy to think this movie didn't get him more directing gigs or writing gigs, because this movie, to me, is a really well done movie.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Budget of this movie, you have $50,000, so very, very minimal.
The budget was $50,000 for this movie?
Yeah, $50,000. You think that's high, Greg, or low?
You know what? I now that I think about the movie, it seems appropriate, but I'm just not used to that type of figure in the movies that we review.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, this is super low budget. I think this is all filmed in his own home.
I mean, that was just like on all the glow sticks, or what? What did they spend it on? That's such a low amount.
I think it was all that Comet special effects they did.
Yeah. Or they replaced a couple of windshields and that called it a day.
True. Yeah.
They did.
That's true. Yeah.
Crazy. That's really cool.
Yeah, box office, pretty much $103,000. Like, it doubled its budget. It, limited release. I mean, it's probably making more money now renting on Amazon Prime and stuff like that. You get it at whatever, $4 a pop or whatever it is. So, but I think this was available on Hulu and a bunch of places for free. So, Laura, do you want to do interesting facts?
Yeah. So Burkett told an interviewer, so this is a quote from him, "For about a year, all I did was make charts and maps and draw diagrams of houses, arrows pointing where everyone was going, trying to keep track of different iterations, months and months of tracking fractured realities, looking up what actual scientists believe about the nature of reality, including Schrodinger's cat and all that. It was all research, but despite all of the graphs and charts," he says, "I think our whole idea was that it has to be character-based. We want the logic of our internal rules to be sound, and we wanted it to be something people could watch 12 times and still discover a new layer." I love that quote.
That is super cool.
I literally just imagine him with like charts. Like, this probably drove him crazy. But then, the next fact will explain the whole thing about the character base. So my next fact I have here is the director wanted this to be shot. Well, first of all, shot in his own home. It was shot in his living room. It was shot over 5 days in order.
Wow.
And with each actor only getting a paragraph a day on their goal for the day.
Wow.
So this movie is heavily unscripted and totally improvised,
Yeah.
with everyone just having goals of the day, only know the few things that their character needs to do that day, and not having a clue about what the other characters' motives are or what they're doing. So some of these actors have actually said in other interviews I read that they had no idea what the movie was about until they watched it later.
And they weren't given any lines?
No.
Damn.
So a lot of the times when they don't know what's going on with other characters and these mysteries arise, that's their actual reaction.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I read something too. They were saying that like the actual quote unquote script of the movie is only like 12 pages. Like that's it. And those 12 pages are really just all the interactions and like the, you know, the surprises. But like you said, the cast never got those 12 scripts.
That's such a gamble.
Yeah. Well, and then this also kind of plays into this here, but the actor who plays Amir, his name's Alex Monaghan, I think. He is also one of the co-writers. He was essentially the mole who helped guide scenes if the actors went astray. Which I think makes so much sense. But how funny, too.
If they were completely improvising, I mean, the premise is that they know each other to some degree. They're friends. So if they're completely improvising, then there would be an absolute disconnect. They wouldn't know each other's backgrounds to any extent. So you need somebody like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I read that after my first watching. All up front right now, I watched this movie 4 times. So
you're an expert.
Yeah, after my second viewing and reading that, there's one scene in particular, like I spot out knowing that Amir's character is like the mole. There's one scene I think where Amir and Hugh come back from the other house, and they're being like, "What did you see? What did you see?" And like Hugh starts to like have like this little like sentence he starts saying. I forget what he's actually saying. And Amir like cuts him off and he's like, "What's in the box? Like, what is it? Like, what's there?" You know, and then he gets back on track to what he's saying. And I was like, I picked that up. Like, I'm pretty sure that was one of the scenes where Amir like told him, you know, more or less like, get to the point, you know? Yeah. I mean, we've reviewed a lot of movies, Unfriended, Paranormal, Blair Witch, that just like minimal script, improvise. I've never heard of one like this though. That's like note cards for the day, and you don't know what anybody else is saying. You don't even know the premise or like what's happening. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yes, like seeing what we got out of that and knowing what they put into it is pretty impressive.
Yeah, cool. Laura, you want to do cast?
Yeah. So we have Emily Baldoni as M. Maury Sterling as Kevin, Nicholas Brendan as Mike, but I will only be referring to him as Xander from here on out, obviously. We have Lorraine Scafaria as Lee, Hugo Armstrong as Hugh, Elizabeth Grayson as Beth, Alex Monaghan as Amir, and Lauren Maher as Lori. So a lot of them kept either their same name or very similar, except for Kevin. His was I guess Kevin and Mike, they were the only two that were like super off, but everyone else, it was really similar.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my wife about, you guys know when I usually review these movies, I cannot remember names of characters. I'm like the bald guy, the big guy, this chick with glasses. This movie, by the 4th showing, I'm like, oh my God, Hugh went to Kevin and he talked about this. And then he said Mike. And so like, I remember everybody's name now. It's just so funny because I'm never that guy on this show. So it's going to be a good recording for everybody listening of me being able to actually say characters' names because I know them. Laura, you want to try to do a synopsis?
Yeah, try to do is, I think I had trouble with triangle, right? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Coherence is a movie about 8 friends getting together for a dinner party. And it happens to be on the night of a strange comet passing by over them. And so after losing power and, their phones start to break, they go outside and essentially see copies of themselves. And they come to find out that the comet is causing these multiple realities that are all occurring at once. And when the comet fully passes, the realities will all collapse with only one remaining. Maybe.
Maybe. Oh, that's true. Okay, that was good, Laura. That was a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Good job. I like it. Okay. Let's. Well, actually, let me get my wife in here. My wife is going to join us. I've been talking about her for 50 something episodes. Probably you guys have heard about her.
Yeah.
She called me out on a certain episode. I remember that. Laura got a text and shot me down. She usually doesn't watch the movies with me. She's watched, of course, Scream with me and a couple other ones that she was interested in. Usually she doesn't like scary movies. When I told her this movie was not really scary, it's more like psychological thriller, she's like, okay, let me check it out. And she caught me on my second watch, so we both watched it twice. I watched it 4 times, she watched it twice, and our last viewing was literally watching it, pausing it, talking about a scene, then continuing. That must have took us like 3 hours to finish that movie, but most of it she's just telling me that my theories are dumb. So Laura, of course, knows her. This is one of Laura's best friends. Greg, of course, knows her through me and everything like that. But let me get her on here real fast. Okay, I got my wife here now. We're all reset up now. Do you want to say hello?
Sure. Just for the record, you're already lying.
Oh, I'm already lying.
I actually know Greg the longest because we've known each other.
There we go.
Freshman year of high school.
Oh, okay. Well, lying and being misinformed is a different
Tomato.
Yeah, tomato. True. Yeah. Okay. All right.
We call it.
All right. I think I already regret this. Okay. All right.
I was about to say, and this is why Rob has kept her off the pod for 50 something episodes.
That's probably true. She usually calls me out on my bullshit, so this is going to be an interesting episode, everybody, guys. Okay, so let's get into the review before I get into more trouble. Let's just start, like was it with the opening in this movie, the setup, the comet, more or less. The dinner scene, kind of the first maybe 15 minutes of this movie. Laura, do you want to start?
Yeah. So the opening, it just kind of like dives right in. We meet, I guess, what we would call the main character, Emily M. And she's on the phone with her boyfriend. So we kind of get a taste right from the beginning that the relationship isn't great. He has to take a work trip to, I think, Vietnam, and invites her along, and she is pretty hesitant about going and doesn't answer him. And I also thought it was weird that she showed up to the dinner party by herself without him. So already you're like, what? Why didn't they go together? Like, what's going on in the relationship? So we get to this dinner party. Greg, did you watch this movie?
No, I thought that, okay, you could hear him on the phone. It sounded like he was flying in on an airplane. Right?
Why didn't she pick him up? That's what I thought too. But then
She
why
said,
didn't she
your
pick him up from
coworker
the
pick him
airport?
up? I mean, I feel like that.
But he showed up with his
plausible.
buddy.
I was
Anyway.
confused. I thought the guys were a couple in the beginning.
Oh.
It's a different reality.
Yeah, probably. You never know. So, they're at this dinner party. It's 8 friends. And yeah, I mean, it just felt very natural. I mean, obviously this is like a pretty B cast. It's not anyone super well known, except for Xander, of course. And, and yeah, I just felt like the flow, I liked it from the beginning. It almost felt like a found footage film without being one. It also really reminded me of The Invitation, a very natural, like, group of friends at a dinner party. So I really like that. And then, you find out that there's a comet, like, happening that night, which at first you're like, big deal. I mean, we've all lived through comets passing by that we've seen with the naked eye. But, but then they're having fun over wine. They're speculating about what that could mean. And so I just thought that was I thought that was a really good setup.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it.
Nice. What about you, Greg? What did you think, like, the opening setup of this movie?
I was split. The first few minutes, to be honest with you, I didn't like it at all. I mean, everything leading up to them actually sitting down for dinner, I just was not a fan of that shaky handheld camera. Like you said, Laura, you thought it was a plus. I didn't like it. It kind of felt like a reality show a little bit, like reality TV. They were putting the camera in between people. It was very jumpy. I really wasn't digging that. And I'm kind of split on, they had too much of that unscripted. Like you said, now that I know that it was completely improvised, now that doesn't surprise me. But that casual convo vibe seemed a little bit overacted for me. Mm-hmm. Everyone's always talking over each other. To me, it seemed like they were trying way too hard to sound casual. And, on one hand, I kind of do like that because, whenever you show up to a dinner party with friends you haven't seen for a while, it's a little bit awkward. You don't know each other's pace, each other's vibe. It's been a while. Especially after COVID, I feel like when we all get together, we're going to be like, don't know how to be social at all. But
I'm be like, who are you, Greg? Who are you?
Yeah.
Are you a real Greg? Or are you a double Greg? Who the fuck are you?
But I will say that when they do sit down and they do start having some drinks, and Em starts talking about her understanding, and she had read about the comet that had passed many decades ago and what it had done, and how we're kind of experiencing some of the same phenomenon. Their cell phones are breaking, the glass is breaking, they don't get reception. I actually like that. I thought that the transition from everyone being jovial and happy and super chill, that transition to being more worried and concerned, and how that differed from person to person. Some people, like the lights go out, they go outside, they see the comet overhead, which is not like, we've seen comets in our time in space. This is not an average comet. It's like almost in our atmosphere. You can see pieces of it breaking off. So then, they slowly start to get worried and anxious about what's going on. And I actually like that. I thought it was really cool. I felt the first 5 minutes put me off because of the style of the shots. But by like minute 10, I was into it, and I felt like I was a member of that dinner party. So I definitely like that.
Cool. Lord, do you like, and even Nick here, my wife, like, do you guys remember seeing comets? Like, I don't. Greg is saying like he's like seen a million comets. He's in a fucking astronomer.
Basic word.
Yeah,
for sure. Our son could say it.
Oh god. That's true. Do you guys, Laura, have you seen like a lot of comets? Like, Greg, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think Greg's talking about comets you don't see from the naked eye, like maybe in books, or I don't know, but
no,
it's
like
funny
Halley's
because,
Comet. They would tell you that.
Okay, like that. But this movie is set in Southern California, and when I was living in Southern California, I saw a real comet.
Is this while you were dating your husband? Is this that then or before?
Oh yeah, I think we were engaged probably.
Did he act a little weird when you got home? Was he a little different?
He's always weird, so.
This wasn't when it started. He was just always like that. Okay, well, that's good to know. What about you? What about you, Nick?
About comets?
Yeah, you remember the comets?
You hear about the stuff on the news and everything, but I'm never one to like really go outside and check it out, because I do think like when it's a full moon, you can always just tell because people do act a little off, or like when you realize it's a full moon and then it's like, oh, like this behavior makes so much sense. So I just let shit happen and just, I'm just saying.
Yeah, so imagine what a comet will do to someone.
Exactly.
You're the smart person, like, from this movie. Yes. You don't leave the house.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Right. I'm the one being like, bye, I'm going to go wander the streets for a bit.
No, that's 100%.
Yeah, that's exactly
accurate.
That actually has happened before. That's true.
No, it has. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Times.
Many times. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I thought about it. Do you remember when we lived in Monterey?
The transistor blew?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we're on a second story. So we see the shit on fire. And I'm like, oh, a fire. Like, okay, as long as it doesn't come near us, we're fine. This guy, I'm going to go see what's going on. I'm sorry. Are you the fire department? Why?
Yeah, I wasn't the fire department, no.
He goes walking down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But look, I think that's a ridiculously stupid idea, but there's something to be said about, guys are just curious. They want to see what is the front of the line. What's going on with the action, I empathize. Is it a stupid move? Yeah, Rob, you're not a fire marshal.
No,
so don't do that.
It was not. No. Yeah, so that's me. Okay.
You're a mirror. Okay, we get it.
Yeah, we get it. So what did you think of the opening, Nick, of this movie?
Well, I actually completely disagree with Greg, because I felt like first I was confused. I was confused about the relationships and everyone's, connection and what was happening. I don't know. I was just confused by it. So it took me a little time to get it. But once I got the sense they were old friends, it did feel like they already had a shorthand together. So like they didn't need to speak in like complete sentences to get what was going on. Like when they're like, oh, Lori's coming, like no further explanation was needed. They knew like, oh, shit's going to go down. And when I found out that it was not really scripted, I honestly thought they were just like acting really well. Like, wow, they're at a dinner party. This seems so natural. And then, oh, well, they weren't really acting. I guess they were, but they're just like making it up as they go along. So improv. So it kind of explained why it seemed so natural.
Yeah. I mean, are we Are we getting into anything in the opening of this movie, guys, yet? Or am I just talking about my first time watching, not my fourth time watching when I dissected the first 10 minutes of this movie?
Yeah, well, within the first 10 minutes, I think they're already sitting down and eating, and there are things being said that are major foreshadowing. And I've only seen this movie twice, and the first watch was a year ago. Mm-hmm. And then I watched it again the other day. And because I remember the ending, I think there are two things that are huge foreshadowing in the beginning. So they're sitting down for dinner. And the first is when they're talking about another comet that had passed by and how Em had heard on the news that, oh, a woman went crazy and killed her husband. Yeah. So like that was major foreshadowing. And then also her entire personal story about how she was prima ballerina and, you know, she got the role of the understudy and she was too full of pride. So she was like, no way, I'm not taking that. And then turns out, you know, the main ballerina went out and then the understudy got it. And now she's this famous ballerina and how she essentially took her life and how she would have obviously done it different now knowing that. So clearly she feels like she doesn't deserve the life she's living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just how she's so indecisive, and she's still indecisive because of not making the decision of whether or not to go with her boyfriend.
Yeah. With that decision. Yeah. The Kevin, right? Kevin, her boyfriend, asked her, he's getting a new job in Thailand? Vietnam. And won't be like, you going to come with me or not? And she's just kind of like, I haven't made a decision yet, you know, and then he's kind of like, well, a non-decision is a no. So, just being like, kind of just showing, like you said, kind of like who she is. She's just not a decisive person. She doesn't want to make these decisions. But I actually did like the opening. You know, I liked the natural dialogue. I thought it was real. Like I said, not knowing too that this was all improv. I kind of assumed it was because it just felt so organic that I'm like, there's no way this could be all scripted. I mean, like I said, this is, I don't know if I said this yet. This isn't going to be a normal review, everybody, this movie is too crazy to try to go linear because then you're going to have to go backwards a bit. This is the same thing we did with Triangle. We're kind of just going to talk about it and get into things a bit here and there. So, I mean, the one thing I want.
We're improving tonight.
We're improving a bit. Yeah. I mean, right away for me, I just want to ask Laura, because I think me and Laura might have the biggest difference of opinions here. I just want to ask, well, you and I guess Greg too, and Nick, but when do you guys think this Coherence, this event started?
Well, I obviously as a viewer didn't notice it until the first people leave the house, and that is Amir and Hugh, right? Amir and Hugh. And on my second watch, knowing what this movie's about, I'm like, oh, they're leaving. They're not coming back the same people. Mm-hmm. However, you're making me realize that could not be them from the beginning. They could be showing up to this dinner party, not them. Mm-hmm. And that's actually one of my biggest things is that I think even if you are whiteboarding this movie and trying to figure out the patterns you're seeing, that's not probably even the original them when they're in those scenes making decisions about those patterns, if that makes sense. It's so hard to explain, but I just feel like there's nothing you could do to ever figure out. Yeah. I mean, I think by the end of the movie, we have proof there's 5 based on the objects that are in each box. But there's so many more than that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I watched this movie 4 fucking times. And I actually tried to watch it a 5th time, and my wife was like, no, you cannot watch this movie anymore.
Because they just weren't making sense. His theories were not making sense. He was just like saying words of nonsense.
You were being incoherent with your series.
Yeah.
She actually was showering, and I came into the shower, and not into the actual shower, but into the bathroom to be like, hey, I just thought of this idea. And she was just like, no, get out. And that's when she forbid me to watch anymore. But I'm asking because I think what most people are saying, what reviews I've read, is that everybody assumes this comet event starts with the first blackout. The lights all go out and everybody
when they lose power.
That's when it starts. Are you on that same line, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, that's when they realize that shit's going down. And I mean, they all probably showed up there. They didn't see some dark abyss down the street. So, yeah, I would say that I probably agree.
Do you think, though, like talking about it, that it actually starts when her phone breaks?
That's my big thing, with this movie. I think this started with her first instance, her phone breaks. That's when I think everything starts with this movie. So like you're saying, Laura, if that's my theory, that's when it starts. When everybody arrives to the house separately, you're already getting alternates already.
I totally buy into that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think, Greg? Are you in that line that it starts right away with the phone, or are you in the blackout is when it first starts?
I don't know. I think if you're talking about the idea of the Schrodinger's cat, I think it starts at the beginning of time.
Well, okay. Well, let's go through all those realities, guys. So you got Jesus in the desert. Did he go left or right at one point? Which reality is that?
This is what I'm saying is like, okay, so the whole idea is like everything that can happen will happen, right? So I think all of these alternate realities, they have always existed, right? It's just a matter of triggering some type of event that gets them to allow crossover.
Okay.
So if that's what you're talking about, so there's two different things happening. There's one that's when did they actually materialize? I think they've always been there. I think that's the idea of the multiverse, right? But in terms of when were they actually able to cross that boundary, I would agree with Laura and say that when they showed up to the house, unless they passed through some dark area to where it was very obvious that they were going from one reality to the other, I think it started the moment that all the power went out in the neighborhood, because then they were able to look out. Mm-hmm. They could see that the power was out except for the one house that was lit, which was actually their house from another reality. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I was so annoyed by the fact that this is something I've been doing the last few episodes, counting how many times something happens in a limited amount of time. They said that the house with the lights on was 2 blocks down. They said it 4 times in the span of like 2 minutes. And that bugged the heck out of me. I don't know why they kept emphasizing on that. Anyway.
Oh, Greg, you're doing the same thing you did with the invitation, man.
Anyway, okay. So anyway, but that's my whole point is like, I think the coherence, right? So the idea of the coherence is that, it's the breakdown that ensures that the realities have no interaction with each other. So the breakdown of the coherence, I think, happens when all the lights go out and then there's that dark space that allows people to cross over. Mm-hmm. But then again, there's so many weird moments before the blackout happens, which, you know, Rob, hopefully you can touch on, where they don't seem to understand each other's backgrounds. Yeah. Which seems like that it seemed too, my second time watching it, it seemed too bizarre to be normal. But then I thought, well, if that was the case, why didn't they experience any of this phenomenon driving up to the house? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, because that's really my big thing with watching this 4 times is you really start to see all these little tiny things that the first time viewing, you think they're just either jokes or mess ups or continuity errors the director just fucking didn't even think about. You know, this is a low budget movie. It could have been a mistake. But you watch this movie and knowing like what this is and reading, like you said, Laura, this director took over a year to plan the occurrences. So I feel like nothing in this movie is a mistake. Everything is supposed to be there. So when you talk about what Greg said, the opening dinner conversations when everybody's already come, and you have, to me, the biggest 2 obvious ones are you have Xander, as Laura wants to call him, saying he was on Roswell. And then you have Lori saying, I watched that show. I love that show. I don't remember you. So that's already one that she clearly has seen the show, but she doesn't remember him. So to me, she is from a different reality where he was not on that show.
Well, one thing is they kept describing Lori as this, like, you know, voluptuous vixen before she arrived. And
that bugged me.
Okay, is Scarlett Johansson as the Black Widow going to roll up through this front door? Like, that's what I'm expecting.
I said Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. I'm like, what are we about to see here? And it's just like a woman in a dress.
Boring ass chick walks in.
Yeah, what was that about? But I don't know if maybe that's what you're talking about, Rob, was like maybe one reality had a different idea of who she was.
Oh my God, you're blowing my mind.
So that is it. That's the other one I was trying to hint at is you have Mike, you know, the guy from Roswell, that when they mention Lori in the kitchen in the opening, he's like, who? He's like, who's that? And they have to describe who she was. And he's like, okay. And then you have the dinner scene with them. And in his memory, she taught yoga, but clearly she's not from this reality. And she's like, I don't know who that is. So to me, she is totally different from the beginning. And that's some of the things you kind of start to notice is all these times where something kind of doesn't add up, where people are like, wait, what? That it's not a coincidence, it's not, you know, it's supposed to be there for a reason. You just don't know it until you watch this movie fucking multiple times, but then, like I did.
To Laura's point, though, Rob, it's like, if that's the case, right, the blackout hadn't happened yet.
No.
Why didn't, when they drove up to the house, if you think that the realities have been crossing over at that point, are you saying that, I mean, they didn't pass through like a blacked out zone? right?
No, to me, the way this movie works is the blackout is M's theory. It's her idea.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's true. The
Sure.
way I think this movie works is every time someone leaves the house or enters the house, it changes. It has nothing to do with the black area.
Every time someone leaves the house, that happens like once a minute.
Exactly. That's why you go through this movie and you're talking about by the end, like nobody's the same every time. I mean, we'll get into some other ones I have that I picked up on watching this with her and pausing it every like 4 minutes to be like, we literally were like, did the shirts change? Are buttons changing?
Counting them.
Wow. And were they?
So speaking of that, it's mostly
Wow.
Mike. It's mostly Mike. I'm wearing his vest. He wore a vest and everything. It's mostly Xander. There are multiple scenes in this movie at the dinner table in the beginning where his shirt will be buttoned up to the second button. Next scene, it's like buttoned down farther. The big one to me is when they go outside to actually investigate the blackout. So when they go outside to investigate that, his shirt completely changes to a light color.
Wow.
Really?
It's like I thought it was whitish, but there's no way it could be that light in the dark.
It's a light blue, like flannel-y looking shirt.
It's like one scene that it flashes and then it's back to blue and they come back inside. There's just multiple things like that. I mean, that possibly could be a fuck up by the director. I don't know.
No,
But
it's not.
there's just so many scenes like that.
It makes sense. I mean, he is the most erratic character. He is a past alcoholic and in some realities still an alcoholic, not recovered. And he's also the one that like wants to go out by himself to blackmail himself. So he's like a troublemaker. And, you know, I mean, obviously I'm jumping ahead here, but when Emily figures out that they're all remembering, okay, like I know I'm jumping ahead. There's a box and there's photos and then they all roll a die to assign themselves a number to try to remember like, okay, this was my assigned number. And when Emily realizes that they all remember a different number, if you guys recall, she's grouping them all by like, okay, this was the green group, this was the red group, this was the blue group. Mike was a completely different memory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows how many Mikes we've seen? So that totally makes sense to me.
Only Lee and Beth, I think, had the same number because they hadn't left the house.
Leave the
Yeah,
house.
they didn't really leave the house.
So, Rob, what you're saying is when you leave the house, what happens?
It seems to me like their theory of when you go into the black space, it's a roulette wheel and you just randomly go into another reality. You never can come back. There's just so many. They do that calculation at one point where there's whatever 5,000 realities or something like that. I mean, that's probably minimal. Like Greg said, this is trillions, you know, it's a multi thing. There's just infinite number of realities that just in this moment you're being able to access. So I believe, like I said, this starts with the first phone call with the phone breaking. Because even if you think about it, Kevin and Em are having a conversation on the phone. And Kevin is like, hey, I need to talk to you about something, blah, blah, blah. Then when she gets to the house, it seems like he doesn't want to say anything. So to me, that's already a different Kevin to begin with.
Well, at the dinner table, they are talking about how cell phones breaking that is a common phenomena that is occurring with just the general public. Mm-hmm. So does this thing happen from the moment the first cell phone starts to break, or as far as this dinner party, it's when M's starts?
To me, it just starts when the phone breaks and her in the car, because when she goes to the house, she's already in a different reality.
Wow.
To me. And then every time people show up, whether it's Amir and Lori or it's Hugh and Kevin, they're from all different realities. So even from the very beginning, when they're all sitting at the table, and you assume at that point everybody is from this reality to start, at least you have like 3 or 4 realities already mixed in to begin with. You know,
jeez,
it's just crazy. Like I said, you pick up on this stuff multiple viewings. That's why if anybody listening, you watched it once and you're like, these guys are fucking morons. Like, please listen to watch this movie again and just pay attention to these little details that you either thought were a mistake or thought that was just like, well, if they're improv, maybe they said something wrong. Like, I feel like nothing was wrong in this movie. I feel like it's just so well planned out and edited by the director and writer to make it seem a certain way. It's just crazy, you know? We'll get into more as we keep going here. I have multiple occurrences of when things are changing and not if you didn't pick up on it. But
hey, let me use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, Rob?
Okay, go for it. We'll keep talking, man. We'll keep talking.
All right, thanks.
Cool. So Laura, let's talk more about the box patterns. You know, do you want to get in more of the box and what it means? That's kind of where you have, if you're watching this for the first time, when you kind of see and realize something's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, you know, I have 2 different feelings towards the scene. The first is the first time you're watching this movie, because how unsettling is it that they have this mysterious box and they open it. And first they pull out like a ping pong paddle. So you're like, I don't know. But then there's pictures of themselves with like random, nonsensical numbers written on the back. So you're just kind of like, oh God, what does this mean? Are they being targeted? And then there's a mirror. They're like, that's the shirt you're wearing now. That's the mirror you took a picture in front of now. Like someone took this picture of you. So I thought that was super cool the first time you're watching this, because you're just like, what is happening? And then to find out that it's something completely different. It's that this box is a physical piece that each reality is trying to have be their tie into the world. It almost reminds me of, what's that? Oh, Inception. we just watched Interstellar the other night. I got confused. Interception. But like Leo's character has something to hold on to try to, the marker. And that's what they're trying to do with this box. And so I think that was a really just genius idea of the writers and director. And, as the movie goes on, the box is now changing. There's a different object in the box, and they figure out that they're getting these pictures of themselves and rolling the die. And, obviously there's going to be different numbers being rolled in every reality every time. So they're writing down different numbers every time. And I just thought that was one of the many things I think is genius about this movie.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed all of that.
All right, Greg's back now. Greg, what did you think of like?
Oh, hey, Nicole's with us. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
What were you saying?
Greg, you think, can I talk about how much I hate these people, please?
Oh, sure. Go for it.
Because right away, emergency, like they're flipping out. They're all on different pages. Like, how are you friends? And I'm like, if a blackout occurred, of course, first of all, get light going on. If there's a generator, get that generator going on. Keep those lights off so not everyone's knocking on your door to try to use your phone or whatever. And you stay in the house. My doors are already locked because I'm not crazy. I lock my doors. And I probably already have like decorations that double as weapons in every room. So like,
yes.
You drink some wine, you stay inside. The one that I would have to like keep from leaving would probably be this guy.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, if you leave, you're leaving. I'm not letting you back in. So good luck.
M does say that to Kevin at one point where he wants to leave. She's like, no, you're not leaving. So that's a picture into our marriage, everybody.
Yeah.
That scene. Yeah.
But I'm like, who goes out? And then like, again, jumping, but like with the car stuff, who cares about your car right now? Like, do you think some crazy shit's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So...
okay, so you would, like we said, you would be in the end house in this movie, the picture perfect house where nobody left and they're all just drinking.
I mean, I agree. Exactly. You don't leave. I agree.
Yeah.
Huh. I know that brings up the point. Like, we're not really that far into the review yet, but it's kind of coming up organically here, kind of like the conversations. Like who would each of you guys be in this damn movie? Laura, like who are you going to be in this movie? Which character kind of fits you? And also like which one are you? Are you alternate Mike? Or are you alternate M?
Oh, geez. What are you doing? I can't do this.
You can't go down that road? Okay. All right.
Well, I'm with Nicole. I'm not leaving the house at all. So that leaves Lee or Beth. Which one sleeps?
Lee.
Which one takes the nap?
Lee takes the
Lee.
nap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Lee takes the nap, which sounds appealing, but that's not me. I probably wouldn't take a nap at a dinner party. So I'm probably the one that brings the drugs. That's probably
the one I called for you.
The one that's just sipping on her wine the whole time, like
and
whatever.
Ketamine.
And ketamine.
Oh yeah, she's... Well, first of all, I have never done ketamine. I think ketamine's insane. I don't know. Wow. But anyway,
Laura would
but
be the person
one
offering around if anyone was feeling uncomfortable.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Okay. All right. There you go. What about you, Greg? Which character would you be in this movie?
I'd probably go with Hugh.
Hugh? Huh.
Yeah, Hugh. He has, flashes of, okay, well, let's figure out what's going on. He happens to, his brother is some type of astrophysicist or something. So, and the idea was that he was supposed to call him if anything weird happened. So, I can empathize with wanting to get down to the bottom of the issue. When you have a blackout in an upscale neighborhood, what's the worst that can go wrong in your mind? You haven't gotten wind of any kind of supernatural phenomena that's yet. or threat. But so this is the thing is there were times where he reeled that back in when Mike was kind of flying off the handle and was saying, you know what, I'm going to go to the other house and see what's going on. I'm going to get that book back. He was like, I'm not giving you my keys. So I think he had a good measure of doing the right thing and trying to solve the problem with at the same time knowing when enough was enough and staying home. So
bullshit.
You don't think
Greg's
so?
the guy that'd be like, it's not a big deal. Let me do what I want to do.
Greg, I feel like I'm hating on you this episode, and I'm sorry, but we've already talked about you're Mike from Fire in the Sky. You get out of the truck to see what's happening with the aliens. And you admitted it. You were like,
no,
I'm
so
getting
this
out of
is
the truck.
the first thing that went through my head when they said, okay, there's only one house with lights on. I was thinking, okay, a comet flying overhead, everyone's power goes out. You have one house with lights. Don't go to that house. They're probably doomsday preppers. They're probably some type of, comet cult, right? And they have power. So like, I'm not getting anywhere near that house. So I have some reason with me. But at the same time, maybe you're right. Like one thing I did like was when they established the idea of the collapsing realities. One line that I really loved was Mike when he was like, if we're collapsing right now, I'm going to collapse on them. I'm not going to wait for them to collapse on us. I'm not waiting for a drunk Michael to come kill me and kill you and come kill you and you. And I kind of thought that is kind of true. Maybe staying at home sounds like a reasonable idea till you realize that the alternate realities out there could be coming for you. So maybe you go get them first. So I don't know. Part of that I understood.
You'll break out your baby samurai sword, Greg, and start running down the street.
Okay, that was the other thing is they didn't walk out of the house with weapons. Idiots. They were unarmed. I mean, grab, like Nicole, you said, everything in your home is a weapon, theoretically. grab some hand sanitizer, grab a stapler, grab anything,
Anything.
They just walked out completely unarmed. I didn't understand that.
I'm probably super naive, but in my mind, I'm like, if I'm not a violent person, then I don't think an alternate reality Laura would be. So I'm not afraid of her. I'm just not afraid. So, but I'm like, everyone just stay in your own house.
Yeah, no, this pandemic makes me not trust people, though, in general. You don't know it's going to be you. People can't even wear a cloth mask. Like, I don't trust anybody.
That's true.
Yeah, you have to imagine the very worst possible version of you, Laura, because that's the idea, is that there are so many infinite possibilities. It could be the one that decided 20 years ago to be like a hardcore Limp Bizkit fan and just, wear a backwards cap for the rest of her life. And
I am that. I did that.
I'm not messing with that, Laura. No way. Oh my God. I've seen the fire in Laura's eyes sometimes when we record, and the worst Laura. Oh my God.
I'm just saying, we're talking about Greg, who has many times said he is similar to Jack Torrance, and that he just.
Well, I think the problem is we're currently right now talking to the worst Greg. He's already the worst Greg, so
there are no better realities. Sorry,
feel like
guys.
We've lived through scenarios where Lindsay's like, "Don't, Greg, don't," and you're like, "No, it's cool, it's gonna be fine." Like, so I feel like we've lived that.
There are better me's out there. I hate to say.
Okay. Okay, I'll let my wife pick. Like, who am I? My thing is like, I'm either Kevin or Mike. I know I'm not Hugh. He's way too thought and like logical and reasonable about what he's doing. Amir really doesn't do anything, so I'm definitely not him. So I feel like it would be Mike or Kevin. I just don't know which one. What do you think?
Like not.
Or am I taking a nap? I don't know.
Not for like exact like actions, but I think you would be Mike.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know if I'd be to that crazy degree.
Right.
Like I'm gonna go kill them first, but I think the way he rationalized things.
Want to like do something without really thinking.
I'm gonna blackmail myself stupidly.
Yeah. It's just the stupidest shit. And you're like, it's a great idea.
I'm pretty sure I've literally said it's a great idea to you multiple times, and it's blew back in my face.
Every day,
every day. Okay, well, there we go.
I thought I would be Lee just because I wouldn't leave the house.
Is that the one that takes a nap?
Yeah. I wouldn't take a nap, but I also just would not leave the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's true. You do. Oh, and Lee and Mike are together, and you come console me when I go insane. So that's actually very real. Yeah. That's actually reality. Wow. Okay.
Match made in heaven.
Nice. Yeah.
Or the worst
reality
ever.
That's true. Oh my god. Oh no. I need to go start to get on the new Roswell show or something. Yeah. Let's get back into the movie now and not like what fucked up version we are. Let's get into, I don't know, does anybody want to jump off with anything in the middle part of this movie? Like I said, it's too hard to go linear. So if anybody wants to spot out anything, if anybody has questions, maybe this would be a good point to ask questions, or we can just kind of run through questions if you were confused about scenes. What do you think, Greg?
One big question is you guys asked me something before about the box and the markers, and the whole point was to create a unique identifier for their home so that they knew where they could go, and that they wouldn't get mixed up by alternate versions of themselves. So can you guys answer me, why would they choose? So at some point they decide, okay, well, we need to do this for ourselves. Why would they, first of all, get a box as a container for their markers, which was already done by a different house? And then why would they choose the exact same photos if they had already seen it earlier? I mean, like, why would they duplicate that? They did some things like say, okay, I'm going to use a blue marker to write the numbers behind our photos. So they did some things that were different, but then why would they just choose the exact same photos that they already saw? I did not understand that, and I thought that we were following the blue house at that point. So
yeah, I'm in agreement with you. The whole thing with the box is just convenience. It just happens to be what's in the house. So, and that's like actually a pretty cool reveal when they're all like, that's been here the whole time. Like, that's kind of crazy. The dice thing, of course, you have different numbers there, so that's there. But yeah, but choosing the same exact pictures, I'm with you. Like, you're looking through pictures. Why would you choose the same exact ones? Or even a mirror, like posing for the same photo. And he even says to himself, it's not exactly the same, but why even make it that similar? Why not just fucking take off your shirt? I don't know.
I also feel like there were a lot of times they didn't want to rock the boat. So maybe they're like, if this box gets found, well, I mean, I guess they had the different identifier, like identifying object. But yeah, it almost seems like they were trying to do something similar, because another aspect of this movie that I really liked was that whatever group you were following at the time, they were then constantly worried, like, are we ahead of the other realities or are we behind? And if they felt like they were behind, they were kind of thinking irrationally, like, oh my God, I got to catch up to where these people are, you know? And when they thought they were ahead, that's when they did revert to things that were along the lines of violence, by like wanting to go and smash someone's window and steal their book or whatnot, leave threatening notes. So I wonder if that might be why. Like, yeah, they already seen it. It was the convenience. I mean, the box totally was a convenience thing. Yeah. Lee was napping, never knew about the first box in any reality, That's think.
True.
So the fact that she shows up with that, what are they going to be like? We can't use that box. They're just like, okay.
Throw it in a purse or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, other than that reasoning, I don't think there's another. Can you think of another reason?
I just think that not all of them, since they all weren't from the same reality, that was new to some of them. The idea of using those pictures, or the idea of using the marker, because not until they all start naming off markers like the oven mitt or the ping pong paddle, like Amir doesn't realize, like when M says, or a ping pong paddle, like, hey, remember guys, we found one with a ping pong paddle, like that didn't faze anyone else.
Yeah, he's like, so I don't, for what? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
this movie's very, like, I don't know if suspense is the right word. It's not really scary.
No.
Did you guys have any, like, a jump scare-ish in this movie at all? Did any scene really, like, unnerve you, freak you out? What do you think, Laura?
No, not at all. This is truly a psychological thriller, and that's why we do horror-ish movies, and I can pick something like this, because I love this genre.
Yeah.
The one that pissed me off the most emotional reaction, when the friend, air quotes, was it Beth? Is that the
blonde
ketamine?
Yeah.
Sees Lori hitting on her friend's boyfriend.
Oh, and doesn't do shit?
Doesn't do anything, doesn't interrupt, be like, hey guys, what's going on over here? She just goes and tells M after the fact. Like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. That's not me. I would have gotten...
Yeah. Oh, you would have thrown gum in her hair.
I feel like that's an actual thing that happened right now with this laugh. It's a true story.
Maybe now I'm regretting Nicole being on here.
You guys forget that she actually knows you guys almost as probably maybe more than she knows me, actually. So you guys might be in trouble tonight. Yeah, we're all in trouble.
All right. On that note, I'm going to get a drink refill.
Okay. Go get a drink refill. Nice. Greg, do you want to ask another question while Laura's getting more ketamine?
I mean, we haven't talked about the point where M sees Kevin, or like an alternate version of Kevin outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty pivotal moment. That's where she realized like everything could be scrambled in backwards. First of all, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when she was facing him, like his face was lit up, but then when it shot back to her, only her face was glowing from the blue light. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's just bad camera work there to me. I didn't like that.
God.
I'm going to point that out.
All right, I'm back. I feel like Greg's saying something I don't like.
Yeah,
so,
I think so. I think your ears were burning, Lauren. You ran back really quickly, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when Greg turned into fucking a cinematographer or something like that on our reviews, because he's just pointing out things that I just don't even think matter in this movie.
Cinematography is important,
but his opinion is not important. That's what I'm trying to
say. This is the thing is, it's like the whole movie is shot from. There are no still shots in this movie, so you're supposed to feel like immersed in what felt like to me was a reality TV show. So the moment you do something that is like out of line with that, or like out of whack, then I think it really takes you out, because it's almost like watching a found footage film and seeing something that doesn't add up. Anyway, I know that the bigger issue with this movie is like the phenomena that's happening and the physics behind it, and honestly, like the relationships, that's probably at the core of this movie, or at least it should be. So I don't know. It was just really crazy. You know, it's at some point, like you said, you find out that Amir and Hugh were not part of that reality. And then I think, like, you know, when you're saying, were there any big scary moments of this movie? I was never jump scared, but everything was unsettling. The moment that you feel that your reality is not what you thought it was. Did you guys notice there was that moment where Beth asks Lee where she got that plant a second time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she, I got it from Galaxy, that thrift shop. And then M notices that it's the same question. And she's like, what is going on? You already asked that question. Yeah. And then I started questioning. I mean, that was one thing they did so well with this movie, is make you really question what your reality was, because you're made to think that every scene you're following the original Blue House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And then when that starts to break down, it just becomes wild, and it blew my mind.
Was there something, so for me, what I started, well, not the first time, after the rewatch, what I started to watch for to track M was what shoes she was wearing.
Oh.
Because she's wearing like gray socks with hearts in like the house where she's prima ballerina. She was wearing like ankle socks at one point. She's barefoot at one point. When the red and blue glow sticks cross each other, I could have swore she's wearing boots. And I'm like, you're not going to wear ankle socks with boots. Like, that's ridiculous. So, then just that's what I started paying attention to try to keep track of who I was watching.
Yeah, like I said,
wow.
Like I said, once you watch this movie once and you understand kind of what's going on, and then you keep watching it, the more you watch it, the more you're like dialing into like every minute little detail and trying to see like what's changed, what's different. Because like I said, I think they're all meant to be there for a reason. Like the sock thing, I didn't see that. And she pointed out, I'm like, oh, you're right. But it's kind of crazy. But speaking of the scene you just called out with the red and blue glow sticks, to me, that is the most unnerving scene in this movie.
Yeah.
When the group of four, it's what M, Kevin, Mike, and Lori go, and they try to look in the house, and they come back and they stop in the street, and then it pans over and there's exactly four of them with the red glow sticks just staring at each other. And you're like analyzing the scene to be like, is that really them? Is that them? Oh my God, it's them. And it pauses for like a good 5 seconds, and then just everybody runs. And it's just like such an unnerving scene to be like, because that's the first scene where you're seeing like multiple in the same space. And it's so weird, because you automatically think like you're in that situation. You see yourself. It's one thing at this point to think like there's already alternate us running around out there, not ever seeing yourself yet. But then when you actually see yourself, to me, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like seeing yourself, what that would actually be like? I cannot imagine that. Like you see yourself in video, you see yourself on film or tape, but physically that person in front of you, I can't imagine that.
It would be crazy. I mean, unless I was like skinny, then that would be kind of cool to be like,
I'd be like, can you do a 360? Can you see how you look? Like
you're trying to analyze yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all right. What diet were you on? Yeah. No pandemic in your guys' reverse? No. Okay. Shit. All right.
That was a good mechanic. I mean, using the glow sticks. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah.
that was such a great mechanic to reveal what was real and what was not, even though by the end we find out that there's just an infinite number of every color, but that wasn't the point. Early on, that was such a good mechanic to show that, you know, when Hugh and Amir start looking at each other and then they pull, to me, when they start pulling out their red glow sticks, I'm in the wrong house. Oh man, that flipped the whole movie upside down.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, that part, I'm like, I don't understand. And the first time it's just like, I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah. You just want to get to the end because you're like, okay, I just need to know what's fucking happening.
Yeah.
But like I said, the more you watch it, the more you just appreciate everything in this movie. And I think that's the big thing from this movie is this is not a one and done. If you watch this once, maybe you think it's a cool movie, but you got to watch it multiple times to really love it, to really dig into it. Because it's fucking insane how it actually plays out.
There are so many movies that have themes like this, similar twists, turns, and the rewatchability sucks. It's like once you know what happens, you try to rewatch it and you're like, but the fact that we're still seeing things, and it's exactly what the director said in that interview quote I read out. Like, he wants you to be able to watch this 12 times and unpack a new layer every time.
Yeah.
Well, what makes this movie different from the other ones? Why is it that, I mean, if we watched it tomorrow, we would all probably enjoy it, right? Why? Why wouldn't we already be tired of it?
Greg,
the details.
I've watched this
details,
4 times and I could watch it, 8 more times and be at 12 and be pretty happy. Like, I'll tell you right now, you keep watching it. There's so many little things to notice. And the more you watch it, the more you pick up on it. And like I said, we haven't got to the ending yet. I've watched this 4 times and I still don't know what's really going on, I think, at the ending. So, you know what I mean? It makes you want to keep watching because I feel like even though you think you know what's happening, I don't think you have the answers. And I don't think the director has ever said exactly what's going on in this movie, which is, you know, pretty fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that makes it easy to rewatch is, like, you question yourself so much. You question your own theories. Like, one thing that I want to rewatch it because I don't know if it's a real thing or not is the original color marker she writes in the notepad. And then when she goes back to it, it's green, but I could have swore the first one was a different color, but I'm not sure. So I want to rewatch it.
It makes you second guess everything you saw in the beginning.
Yeah.
So we're watching this. I'm going to watch 5 times now? Yes. Awesome. I'm going to get to 12. I'm going to get to 12 one day. Yeah.
We're going to be like that Charlie Day meme that like with papers all over our house.
Red strings on our walls, marking M socks changes. Yeah.
Time markers.
Oh
It's
my God.
favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna fall down a black hole myself. Yeah. Let's talk about the ending. Laura, do you want to set up the ending and we'll get into it and then maybe do little theories if we have any?
Yeah, I feel like the ending's pretty simple. So
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I will quickly go through it and then you guys can throw your shit at me because I'm like, makes sense to me. Okay, so shit really hits the fan and we're obviously following M and she just leaves at one point. I think it's her third and final time leaving.
She's like, fuck you crazies.
Yeah, she's like, fuck this situation. And she ends up going and looking into every house, which is the same house. It's all of them, and looking at just a few of the other realities. And most of the ones that she looks at are just as bad, if not worse,
some of
than
them
what she's dealing with.
Some of them are so fucking cold. My favorite one is when the 2 mics are tied up together. That is like my favorite one because I'm like,
well, and that's like the worst one, right?
Well,
I mean, that one, it's like,
worse.
Shit. It's getting real violent. Like someone might die here.
Yeah, that would be me wandering the streets and somehow I ended up tied up in another house by myself. Yeah. Because then you also have, you also have, sorry. You also have the one where Kevin like gets back together with Lori because they had a connection and you can kind of hear them talking. We had the subtitles on, thank God. And you can hear them saying something like, oh, we just reconnected tonight and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, shit, like that's a fucked up house too. You know, it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're all bad. I mean, if anything, they're just yelling at each other. Tensions are high. There's anxiety. And so she just keeps looking at all of these realities. And finally, she stumbles upon one. The lights are on. Clearly, none of them have left the house. They're all just a true group of 8 friends after dinner, having wine, enjoying each other's company. Nobody has their cell phones out. They're just having a nice time. And she looks over at herself and Kevin, and she's canoodling with him. And then she overhears someone make a comment like, oh, when they go to Vietnam. So in this reality, she had chosen to go, likely because their relationship was much better and stronger. So she makes the decision, I don't want my life. I want this Emily's life. I'm going to take it. And so she causes a distraction by breaking Hugh's window. The group goes out and she knocks other Emily over the head, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry. She covers her mouth with ketamine that she had stolen. So we think she's got her and we're like, okay, this is it. Like this, I thought already,
puts her
like,
in the trunk.
This is, yeah, she puts her in the trunk. I was like, this is really cool. I love the fact that she's essentially stealing another reality for herself and getting rid of that Emily. Like so far, this is the most horrific, violent thing we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's like the main character who we've been following doing it. And, you know, Gaurav was saying this in his interview. You never think the main character is actually capable of doing these things. So you're like, oh, shoot, I've been rooting for you. Like, what are you doing? You know, turns out that she did not die from that experience and comes back. And so Emily has to then hit her over the head and put her in the bathtub. And so now we're thinking like, okay, she's probably still not dead, but she's in the bathtub. Emily escapes these situations and she ends up fainting and we cue to morning. And in the morning time, she's like, oh shit, I gotta go look and see if she's still in the bathtub. But there's people in the bathroom. They're using the bathroom and no one has said anything. So I think her and myself as a viewer think, oh, well, it all collapsed on itself. The comet broke up. It's over. So that Emily is gone now and she's here. And, you know, she sees Kevin. They have some nice exchanges. And then all of a sudden he says, my phone is ringing. Oh, that's weird. It's you. And he answers it. And there is a voice on the other end. And he looks over at her like, what? And then cuts to black.
Oh, Laura. Oh, I didn't watch it 10 times, Laura, and go down Reddit black holes.
I stumbled down a couple Reddit holes after watching this movie multiple times because I'm like, it doesn't make sense at the end. Like, I gotta know what's happening. So, I mean, do you guys want me to get into what I think and what I read and what's happening, or you know? Or...
So you don't think there's just two of them in this reality now?
No. As far as what I think and what I've seen and what I've read, could be four. There could be four at the end here. So what I've read and what I kind of see is that when M looks in the window and sees this, you know, ultimate, whatever you want to call it, perfect universe, she wants to go into perfect reality. Some people are saying that M already on the couch is already one that's already abducted somebody. Because if you think about it, if our main M has this idea, then multiple other realities have this idea. So that's one thing people are saying is that. So then you have the scene where an M gets the bats. Some people are saying that's another M. Then you have an M that gets the ketamine. That's another M because they have different ideas of what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So you have three M's looking outside the house, more or less. One at the window, one grabbing a bat, one getting the ketamine, and then you have the one inside the house. So you have four at the end. So then what you have is you have the one that got the ketamine. She, of course, goes to the car, puts her in the trunk. I think we're to believe that that is our main M because that does still follow her. The one thing that really kind of spots out this theory is she takes her sweater and she puts it on. So then when she goes in the house, she's acting like her, of course. And then everybody goes on the balcony or the patio to look at the comet break up. And what happens is the lights go out again. When the lights come back on, she's not wearing the sweater anymore. The sweater is gone. And that could be a continuity error. I don't know. But we've seen multiple things in this movie that just seems like everything is planned. So people are saying that when the lights go back on, you're in another reality again. It splits. And this is another M. Maybe not our own. I'm not sure. And then people are saying that the one that got the bat is the one that hit over this other M in the head and put her in the bathroom. Because the first M puts her in the car trunk. And then when she comes crawling out of like the bathroom area. She's already in the house. So it's not like she's coming in the front door. So the one in the trunk is always there, as far as I take it. And that gets into the whole Schrodinger's cat thing at the end of this movie, of how two M's can exist in the same space because nobody's opened the trunk yet. Because like they said in Schrodinger's cat, as long as you don't open that box, you're technically alive and dead at the same time. So she is in the trunk. She has the phone. In her reality, her phone didn't break. So she's calling from the trunk. And then you have the M that wakes up on the couch in the end. So there's 2 at the end.
Well, right. Yeah. So there's 2 at the end.
At the end, there's 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how I see it too. And the director has said in an interview that at the end, it's supposed to be that Emily is now in an identity crisis because now she's going to have to live with one other of herself in her life when it wasn't supposed to be that way. They were all supposed to collapse and, never see each other again. So, okay. So yeah, I also think there's 2 at the end. I think that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But just, how they went about getting to 2 is, I think.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Cause there's even one thing you're talking about of this ideal reality of it is, she's accepted Kevin's whatever, thing to go with him. But there's also, I think, a note in there where they're talking in the background and somebody asks this M, like, hey, are you going to put your dancing career on hold? Like in this reality, she was the understudy too, and she became this famous dancer. So this is like the ideal reality for her. She did every choice she ever questioned or did wrong. In this reality, she did the opposite and got them all right. Yeah. So this is her ultimate. I mean, sadly, at the end, like it's not her reality to be in, which is going to be kind of crazy. But what do you think? What do you think, Greg?
Well, that's my question. I mean, just kind of step aside from the topic of what actually happens, and I want to ask you guys: would you accept that reality? Because it's almost like we all have had our failures and all of our shortcomings, right? At some point, don't you live with that and you go, well, that's just me. That I've lived through that, as the successes that I've had, I've earned those just as much as I've earned the failures. Don't you think that she would feel at some point guilty for living a stolen life because she had lived through the failures that she did, but suddenly it's handed to you? I mean, I think it sounds like
I don't think so. I don't think original M, that is her, because she's so indecisive. Like, it's so annoying. Like, you're so indecisive, and she clearly couldn't live with those things because Lori brings it up at the dinner table, and everyone's like, oh shit, she's bringing it up. Like, it happened such a long time ago, but it's still such a sensitive topic.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah.
But like Greg is saying too, like, yeah, that is a very good question. I kind of want to ask you guys too, is like, yeah, I know it's like, she is taking somebody else's life, more or less, and not that like would any of you guys do that, but I think the reasoning I think for her to do it is through this movie she realizes she's never in her own reality. She's already lost her own reality, and like Laura, you said when Mike finally just gives in, he's just like, this is my reality now. Mm-hmm. And I think she comes to that realization of like, I'm never getting back to where I was, where I built my life, all the decisions I made. I might as well go find fucking the one I want to be in, I mean, it's fucked up. It's fucked up to think about, but man, it's crazy. Do you think, Greg, that you would fucking do that and you would just be like, I'm going to fucking fuck my reality, I'm going to go find the best one I want? Or,
it's tough because I think there are parts of your life where you feel like you tried your hardest, you did your best, and you genuinely deserved it. And I think you could convince yourself that if that was handed to you on a silver platter, you would just take it and you would feel no regret for just taking it. But, that said, I don't know. I think, living through the traumatic night that they all did, you're probably in a state where, you walk down the street and she's basically window shopping through all these alternate realities. 99% of them are just atrocious and horrible. You have to think that it's like that's a deal that you take, honestly, because you realize that this is the best it's going to get. And it's not like that reality isn't completely different. She still has her friends. She's still herself. It's almost just like, her goals and achievements were realized, So I don't know. I think, I suspect most people would take it on a whim.
You agree, Laura, too?
No, because I wouldn't have left the house. Even if even if people left.
Being rational. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have. Honestly, like thinking of being in the situation, I would make Brooks, my husband, I would like go into a bedroom in the house and just lock the door and be like, we're not leaving. We're just locked in here. And other people can do what they're going to do, but we're just going to stay.
There was that line where M for like the fourth time, the group is leaving the house again. She's like, so what? We're splitting up again? And Amir's like, no, we're not. We're just going into 2 different groups. I was like, oh, is that what we're doing, Amir? Okay, cool. Good to know. Good to know.
Mansplaining groups.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, man.
So yeah,
funny.
I guess
Wow.
that's the solution. Stay in the house.
Yeah. Do you
Go
guys have
listen to
any,
Amir.
Yeah. Do you guys have any final thoughts for this movie? I mean, I know we're highly recommending it, but maybe most of us. I'm not sure about Greg. He might be a double. Do you have any final thoughts, Laura, of the movie?
I really like most of the ending. I really do. I think that her like looking at the other realities is genius. Her trying to steal a reality is genius. I even like the idea that she didn't get it right. And now there is 2 Emilys in this one reality. And that's basically, I mean, her life is over. The other Emily is going to continue having her life. So she's fucked. She's got nothing now. I think that whole thing is really genius. But for some reason, the way it was executed in that last like 10, 15 seconds really bothered me.
You wanted the other M just to come out and be like, hey, bitch, get out of here. You know, that's what you wanted.
This is like another League of Their Own moment for me. Like, I love a League of Their Own, except for the ending when Dottie lets Kit win. I hate it. And I love this whole movie up until exactly the same thing, that phone call. And I'm just like, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm exactly the same. It just feels like it's missing something. I was even telling her, because I was, like I said, I watched this movie multiple times and I was still kind of confused at the end to be like, wait, what's exactly going on? Like, I wanted more of like a definite like answer at the end. I wanted to hear the voice maybe, or like I said, like
her banging the trunk in the car. Like, I would have taken that over the phone call.
Just to clearly be like, yes, this is the other M. This is where she's at. This is what happened. Like, for a whole movie where you don't know what the fuck is going on, at least let us know what's going on at the end. You know, and I love like not knowing. I love Inception. Like Laura mentioned, when you spin the top and you don't know, did it fall? Did it not? Like that's cool. Right. And I feel like that works. But I feel like in this movie, like, I feel like, something was just missing, you know? What do you think about the ending, Greg?
I was a little bit unsatisfied too. I do have to say, despite all the little flaws that I was pointing out, which you guys think are frivolous, I still liked all of the little unexplained mysteries throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. You know, from the note that they had put on the door, how it being the same thing that Hugh had written, to the same pictures being taken, to Beth's handwriting, she finding out that she was the one who wrote the note, to Mike walking down the street and saying, this is my house, which is something like I feel like we have experienced in a dream, but to think that it happened in reality is pretty trippy. To the red glow sticks, all of that is cool, but the issue with me is that, when you get to the end, to me, all of those little mix-ups and mind games kind of seem meaningless. Because you're spending so much time trying to figure out who's from what reality. And then it's like at the end, suddenly it doesn't matter because there's just so many realities. And I don't know if that's, maybe they thought that was good. But at the same time, I kind of felt like how, I love that show Lost. We all like that show. But I remember watching it. A lot of the criticisms were that there are so many mysteries that would just seem to be there to just screw with you. And people hated that. It was just a bunch of questions and weird, odd occurrences that were happening, and then there was no payoff. There was no explanation for it. So I kind of got a little bit of that. I was a little bit unsatisfied. Like by the end, my question is, what was the point of the movie? What did you guys think? What was the point of everything?
I haven't even thought about that.
I was too busy worrying about what some guy's t-shirt was buttoned up to, or some chick's socks. Or...
Dude, I find this to be, speaking of Groundhog's Day, this is the opposite of Groundhog's Day. In Groundhog's Day, he had to relive the same day over and over again because he was a shit person. And for whatever reason, the universe wanted him to not be a shit person anymore and learn. And however long that took, even if it took 35 years in the same day. Whereas in this, there's this opportunity where all of these realities are splitting and they're probably going to meld together. And she is picking the reality that suits that M best and is violently trying to get rid of the other M's in her way. And at the end, she gets what she deserves.
So she's rewarded.
No, not rewarded. She doesn't get rewarded, Greg, at the end because she gets caught.
Yeah. The other M survives and now they're both in this one reality.
What do you think happens?
She doesn't.
That's like what's so unsatisfying about it. It's just like,
Greg, where have you been for the past 10-minute conversation we're having? Like at the end, Greg, there's two M's, and she clearly gets caught stealing the other M. The other M's there still.
Yeah. So like your guys' question was, so you guys surmise that she has to deal with this reality where there's a second M. And I feel like that's the least of her issues. I mean, because now to have a identical version of yourself, it's not like, oh, well, now I have to figure out how to live with myself. No, it's like the world has to figure out how did you duplicate yourself. One of you the guy is probably going to kill you because he thinks you're a ghost or something. I don't know. It just seems like.
Greg, you're like flopped. I think what the world thinks is B. A is like, I've just lost my life. I've lost my boyfriend because he's going to be with his original, well, what he thinks is his original M in the trunk. Mm-hmm. My friends, like I am the quote unquote visitor. I'm the outsider.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even convinced that she has to deal with that because who is that calling? Like, can they coexist? Like, say she is calling from the trunk. Once they open the trunk, is she still there?
Yeah, because that's my whole thing with the Schrodinger's cat. Like I don't know, the way, like I said, the Schrodinger's cat thing, there's no other reason in this movie to have it other than this ending. If you're going to say one of them is locked in a trunk, because that's exactly Schrodinger's cat. If nobody opens that trunk, she technically can be there. But people are saying that I read online, went down Reddit holes of like, once somebody opens that trunk, she ceases to exist.
Oh, I think she's there. And the director said she was there because he says now our M is going to have an identity crisis.
He wasn't on the Reddit thread I was on, so I don't know about that.
But I mean, identity crisis is such a weird way to describe that. That's like, it's more than an identity crisis. That's like,
well, that's an actual person crisis.
Yeah. It's not your identity. It's what the fuck is my life?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to figure this out unless one day we can get the director on here to come talk to us and be like, dude, what the fuck is happening in this movie?
Pick your poison.
Yeah. Stop drawing your storyboards and come talk to us. Yeah. But
please draw me a picture about what happened in every single scene.
Well, one last thing, and this is, again, totally random. Again, I keep having these random ideas, is when the cell phone rang, there was something, I recognized that cell phone ringtone so badly from one of the horror movies that we've watched, and I couldn't put my finger on it. So if anybody...
It's Unfriended. It was Unfriended. That's the Skype ringtone in Unfriended.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Oh my God. I was like rewinding it 5 or 6 times. Like, where does that come from?
That's the part that you rewatched.
That's what Greg rewatched in this movie, not anything else.
Yeah. Greg's now going to give it a 5 because you just did that for him.
I love that. I love that ringtone. He's like, that ringtone was fire. Yeah. Yeah. If anybody wants to email us in, let us know what the fuck they thought of this movie, the ending, theories. Please do. We'll read them on the podcast for the next fucking years. I mean, I'm going to be watching this for years anyway.
Go on our wall of theories.
Yeah, it'll go on our wall of theories that we're making on the home right now. But yeah, you can hit us up, conjecturingpod@gmail.com, or Twitter, Instagram @conjecturingpod. Let's get into Rotten Tomatoes a bit and get to the actual ratings here. So Rotten Tomatoes for this movie, they're very high. Critics score, you have 88%. Audience score, you have 81%. I kind of went through them because I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really well done. So I kind of wanted to see what some of the negatives are about. Most people just really shout out that the actors are not great. They're either unlikable or unrelatable characters. That's really most of the negatives in this movie.
That's dumb.
Oh, that's most people, it's a lot of people, people that don't like the Snyder cut, you can say the same thing maybe.
You got Marvel and Snyder mixed up, babe.
No, oh, okay. All right. That's true. Yeah.
Ouch.
So that's what people are just thinking out there. So let's see where we line up in this movie. So let's do 1 to 5 ratings. Let's do how many comments are you giving this movie? So let's see. And like I said, you can run through positive, negatives if you want a little bit. Let's start with Laura. What do you think, Laura? 1 to 5. What are you giving this movie?
I am giving this a 4.25. Rob's favorite.
So you're giving me a fourth of a comet?
Yeah.
Is that just like the tail? The little tail's flickering on the end?
It's one of the little pieces that break off and burns up in the atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I saw this, I really liked it. I mean, I'm just such a fan of this genre of movie. And yeah, I thought they all did a really good job, especially knowing that they're improvising everything they say. That to me is incredible. I love any movie that you can watch more than once, has layers that you haven't unpacked yet, has unpredictable twists on that first watch. All of that was great. The only reason why I'm not giving it higher is just that split second at the end. Didn't do it for me.
Okay. All right. What about you, Nick? What would you rate 1 to 5 this movie?
I'm just gonna go with a clean 4.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No fractions.
Just because, I mean, not the beginning, I was confused, and that was more of a me thing of just trying to grasp the movie. Like, if I just watched it and you didn't look things up, like, I really wouldn't have thought about it again, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like questioned myself with some of it. Like, is this a big deal? Did I miss something? Sort of like, did I really see that? But it didn't intrigue me enough to like, I'm going to go look it up.
Yeah. I mean, everybody listening, she is not a rewatcher.
No.
She does not rewatch. The
No.
only thing she fucking rewatches is the last 20 minutes of Avengers Endgame.
I start at 2 hours and 7 minutes. Okay, that's where I
know the exact time mark, and she watches that infinite times, infinite realities. And I ask her to watch a movie I like again, and she's like, "No, that's okay." So I was really happy that she actually rewatched this again because, yeah, I think the second time is when you really start to love it.
Yeah.
You know, first time you can see you watching it being like, it's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty cool, good, exciting things. Like, let's move on. You gotta keep watching this movie. You don't have to keep watching it like 4 times like me, but at least 2 would, I think, really appreciate it. So,
and yeah, I did want to rewatch. And just the end. That phone call, last look thing, maybe it's just a cliche 2013 thing. You know, maybe it would have been cool then, but.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Nice. What about you, Greg? 1 to 5, how many comments are you giving this movie?
Yeah, you know, I never really do that thing where people go, this movie is like this and this. I always am bothered by that, but I will say that this movie is straight up the invitation meets Triangle. I'm going to do it now.
Okay. But you love Triangle, and after our anniversary episode, you now really enjoy The Invitation. So I can't wait to hear your score.
This is the thing where I think Triangle, you know, nailed the different realities thing a lot better, and Invitation nailed the dinner party thing better, and the personal stakes and anxiety better.
I knew it.
But look, that said, I've already talked about all my negatives in this movie. Should you or anybody watch this movie? 100%. I think you really can't ignore, for me, the thing that really stuck with me despite all the little itty bitty things along the ways, is just the efficiency of it. For being, especially that low budget, which I didn't know about until you guys mentioned it to me, it feels so well thought out and done. You can appreciate every single scene throughout this movie, especially for that budget. So, I'm going to give it a solid 4.
Damn!
Sometimes you're like, I don't know, your talking points and then ratings just don't line up sometimes. Like,
Rob, just whatever.
Just accept it. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Don't go into the alternate reality.
Don't go in there.
Stay in the house.
Stay in the house.
Reality.
Oh, man.
This is not that hill to die on.
Just don't go outside.
All right, I'll take my wife's advice for once and stay in the house. Okay, all right. For me, I'm apparently, now that I know Greg's score, I'm in line with everybody. I'm so surprised, but I dug this movie. I mean, like I said, I've watched it so many fucking times. You know, I mean, I love all the intricate things. I love the twists, the surprises. Even the first time watching, I'm like, this movie's fucking pretty genius. And then to hear, you know, the writer director, you know, plan this out for a year of like how everything connects, and then the whole improv stuff actually is kind of cool. Makes me actually, you know, like it a little bit more that they kind of improv a lot of this movie. So I think I'm with most of you guys. I'm gonna see a 4-2. Like I said, just that ending to me, it's missing something. I wish that ending was cleaner, better, fucking something cooler happened. I mean, whatever. I don't know what you want to call it.
Justin Long pops out of the trunk. He's like, hey.
I mean,
that'd be ultimate. You know, that's true. Yeah.
Rob would give our first. I give it a 10 out of 5.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Yeah. All right. So we got all our scores. Like I said, highly recommendable movie. Yeah. Like I said, if you're just listening to this and you didn't really watch the movie, please watch the movie. We definitely didn't do it justice in the review, really, because it's just too hard to get into everything, and we couldn't do it in a reasonable time frame. So please just watch this movie. And if you only watched it once, watch it again. Watch it again. Try to look for these little things. Pause it every fucking 2 minutes like I did and think about it, you know? But yeah, I want to thank my wife for coming on, you know, finally being a part of this this podcast. You know, hopefully I didn't irritate you more than normal.
Oh no, not more than normal.
I was on good behavior. Yeah. Okay, good. I was sweating bullets, so thank God. I got it worked out.
Thanks for being our Rob fact checker. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Get ready. Yeah, next week I'll be back to just making up stories mostly, I guess. But yeah, thank you. You know, maybe we'll see you again another time. Thank you.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Yeah, so that's it for this week's review. Next week we're reviewing 2003's Identity. To me, a very similar movie. Now I think about it, people stuck in a place with different things are happening. You're kind of trying to figure it out. So, but I'm excited. I really like Identity. You know, I've seen it multiple times. I don't know if I've seen it as much as Coherence, but I've seen it a lot of times. This was Greg's pick, Greg. So why did you pick this movie again, Greg?
Oh man, I haven't seen it since it probably came out. And I remember it struck a very strong chord with me. And what really reminded me of this movie was when we watched Seven, and there are a lot of similar overlapping vibes between these two movies. So yeah, it really was just a random spark that popped up in my head.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah. And then our rest of our schedule is going to be we're going to be posting on Twitter and Instagram. It'll also be on our website, the other movies we're watching this month. We want to say, please remember, we have Conjecture Choice still coming every month. So keep them picks ringing, keep sending them in every week. Is there ever going to be a point you guys don't laugh when I say it?
No. And why is that not a t-shirt?
I know. Oh, there we go. We gotta start working on that one. Either me and Laura, one of us, between the two of us, we got to get it going. Maybe we'll have alternate versions, alternate realities, or we have multiple shirts of that one. So, keep sending them in. Like I said, you can hit us up, Conjecturing Pod, at Gmail, Twitter, Instagram at Conjecturing Pod. Also our website, podpage.com/Conjecturing Pod. And like we said in the beginning, if you like the pod, check out our merch on our merch site. That's at tpublic.com/user/Conjecturing Pod. Go check out all those designs. Maybe we're going to have some new alternate reality shirts we're going to come up with, me and Laura. Ones where she's drinking ketamine out of a bottle or something, or one where I'm wandering the streets looking for things. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Have some cool ideas maybe in our heads. Lastly, we want to say, please, subscribe, rate, review our podcast wherever you're listening to it on. And also check out the Slash and Cast podcast network at slashandcast.network. So that's it from the Gold Room tonight. This has been the Conjecturing. I've been Rob.
And Laura.
And Greg.
Yeah, until next time, remember, horror is subjective, so conjecture away. Wait a second, guys. What color glow sticks do you have? Greg, what color glow sticks do you have?
Mine's green. It's always been green, right?
Green. Laura, what color glow stick do you have?
Red. Right?
Red. Wait,
why?
I have blue. Oh, shit.
My God, you guys are full of shit. I'm done with you.